Hello, you are tuned in to Erekose on
Hello
Doctor
there,
Who.
everybody. How you doing? It's Erekose on Doctor Who here. I am also Erekose on Making a Murderer. For those of you who have an interest in that, obviously those who are, who are already known to this channel, you already probably know that. For those of you who may be finding this for the first time, I also have another channel. I'll leave a link for it below if you guys are interested in that. So today we're here to talk about Doctor Who, mainly to talk about the new season, some of the issues I have with it as an old school Who fan, and then I'm chatting with Cody today, who is more of a new school Who fan, definitely of the younger generation, and so we get to kind of look at both of our perspectives on it and what we think and that sort of thing, and as we move forward in the future here, Cody and I are going to go like episode by episode through the newest season with Jodie Whittaker. And we're going to go through as the Doctor, and then we are going to go through like episode by episode, and him and I are going to basically do kind of a cooperative review, also kind of comparison, as, him being the new school and me being the old school Who fan. So might be interesting. Hope you guys find it interesting. This is a little chat that Cody and I had out at a little local burger joint. We sat and had a meal, chatted, and then we decided to go ahead and film this. I apologize, there is some background noise, but it's not too bad, and you can hear both of us pretty clearly. And, so I'll get right to it. Here we go. All right, hello there, folks. Today you're here with Erekose on Doctor Who, and today we're going to be talking about Doctor Who in the sense of the perspective of an old school Doctor Who fan and somebody from the new school, like Cody here, who we maybe see things a little differently. So we're going to talk about some of those aspects today, and the reason why we're talking about this is when I first started talking to Cody and stuff, I was explaining how I haven't even watched the most recent season of Doctor Who with the new Doctor, but now that they have transformed the Doctor into a woman just like they did with the Master, and I have my own opinions of why I don't like it, why I personally don't think it was a good direction to go in. Cody may have some differing opinions on that subject. We'll have to see where we go here, but personally, I guess what really bugs me the most is the way that the show has been misrepresenting the past of Doctor Who to its newer fans. That's really, to me, I think the part that really gets me the most. They claim that this has happened in Doctor Who in the past, and it hasn't. It never has. And so it's why it doesn't quite fit, because they had to lie to try to get this gimmick to happen. But what do you think, Cody, about the new Doctor?
I mean, well, so far from what I've seen of her, I think she's done a good job with her own, incarnation of the Doctor, but it is kind of weird. I mean, there's a new director now, so it's a new style, and that's kind of weird all on its own, which I think is a lot for a lot of people at once to kind of do with a new season, with a new director and a new style and a new Doctor and a female Doctor.
Yeah. It's a lot of change.
Yeah, it is. And I also feel like it's not, I'm pretty sure it's not just like out of the blue, because it seems like they've been planning this for at least a couple years, at least.
Oh yeah, they have. Stephen Moffat was trying to kind of set the stage for this.
Right.
You remember in the episode, the one where they go to that planet, what's it called? The one where the TARDIS becomes human.
When they went to House.
Yes, yeah. House. There you go, that one.
That's right.
Okay, do you remember when he's talking about the Time Lord whose thing came in, and he talks about he was a great guy or whatever, and even a woman a couple times.
Yeah.
That was them setting the stage.
Yeah.
They've been slowly trying to set that stage and tell people that it was happening in the past.
Yeah.
But really, it's only been in New Who.
Yeah, it's
so it's interesting. But yes, they've been setting it up.
There was another episode. What was it? It was when Capaldi was the Doctor. They were, what season was it? I think it was the last season that had Capaldi. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
And they went. The Doctor found Gallifrey, and there was a Time Lord there that he shot, and then that Time Lord was a guy and then regenerated into a woman and said that she had been a woman before, and that was like the only male one before. But that actor had also been in New Who before other times, you know.
Yeah, I think you're talking about. Actually, I think that was the special with the where they had the War Doctor, David Tennant, and Matt Smith.
That was before. This one was it had Clara in it.
Oh, you know what?
They were like Clara had died, and he went back to try and save her.
Oh,
like in a frozen moment of time.
that one.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was called, but it was
Yeah.
the same season as Face the Raven.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And that's the one. I think he ends up getting locked up in that little prison thing, right? Where he keeps reliving that day in that prison over and over again until he finally breaks that crystal wall or whatever that allows him to get out of the prison, and he's like there on it's just like a desert on Gallifrey that he's in the middle of. So that was a good episode actually. But it's interesting. The biggest bone I had to pick is I'm not against them incorporating female Time Lords or Time Ladies, as some would say. And there's actually been some really brilliant ones in the Doctor Who universe, you know? And I think that is probably the most disrespectful thing about what they're doing with Doctor Who right now, is that they are completely ignoring the brilliant characters, the brilliant female characters of, Doctor Who past that were brilliant. I mean, Ronnie was a great one. The Ronnie was a villain. She was awesome. It was cool to see that idea of a female villain, Time Lord. There was Romana. I mean, Romana was loved. She was during the Tom Baker era. I mean, Tom Baker's the most popular Doctor in Doctor Who history, and she was with him for most of his time as the Doctor. I mean, she was brilliant. She was loved. Romana was awesome. It was like one of those situations where people cried when she left. You know what I mean? She was awesome, and it's like the new show is just dropping the ball for me in a lot of ways, and I just feel like making the Master and the Doctor into women. It just feels like a gimmick. It just feels like a hollow attempt to be edgy. I don't know. That's what it kind of comes off. And like I said, if anybody out there at Doctor Who is watching this video, consider my words. Revisit the female Time Lords from the past that actually were in the show, and try to revisit that stuff, because those were brilliant characters, and I think you guys are dropping the ball. But so what do you've obviously watched the new season with the new Doctor. What's her name? I'm sorry.
Jodie Whittaker.
Jodie Whittaker. So what were some of the episodes about? Were they good? Were they written well?
I only watched the season once, but let's see. Towards the beginning, it started off. She didn't even have the TARDIS, like it was gone.
Okay.
And they had to find it, and they didn't like the second or third episode of the season. And then I think it was right after that it went to Rosa Parks, and then where did it go after that? I think after that they went to this factory in the future. Yeah, it was the Kerblam factory. I believe that was right after. And they went a couple other places like that, but I kind of do get what you're saying. Like with this new season, it seemed more like they are focusing on the series itself, because you gotta have plot in there,
right?
But a lot of it has been sort of I guess you could say a trip to modernize things, what I mean? And to change them to try and, I guess, bring more people in.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't know if it's really working or not, because when you do that, you also lose people, so I don't know if it evens out.
Yeah.
But a lot of it does seem like it has been focusing mainly on that.
Yeah, it feels like it may be pandering to a certain group of people.
Right.
Which my main concern is that group of people a majority, or is that group of people a minority? I mean, if you're making all Doctor Who fans, put up with something that a very few Doctor Who fans actually promoted or wanted, really, that's probably not the best decision to make, in my opinion. The something we're gonna probably do is as we move forward here, we're gonna probably try and get Cody to start a YouTube channel here and everything, and we're gonna go back and forth. I think probably the first thing we'll do is I'll go back now and watch the season with Jodie Whittaker, you said, right? And I'll watch those one by one, and him and I will have a little chat about them or whatever like that, and we'll go through this latest season. I haven't watched it yet. I've been so on the fence about where the shows, the people running Doctor Who right now, and where they're looking to take this show. What is this show becoming? Is it just going to be some kind of a tool for social reform now, I guess, or I mean, I don't know. I mean, right now those are the things that put me off this most recent season, where I'm just like, oh, give me my Doctor Who that I love. What is this stuff that you're throwing at me? You know what I mean? And it's hard enough with this show, because that's what made the show hard to catch on with it, you know, when they rebooted it in the early 2000s, right? They rebooted it, and it was hard to catch on because people didn't like it when the Doctor changed. When the Doctor changed from Christopher Eccleston to David Tennant, people were like, oh my God, no. Yeah. But David Tennant was so good, he quickly caught those people, and they stuck around. And trust me, as soon as David Tennant went away, people didn't know what to think of Matt Smith. You know, they weren't sure, but Matt Smith turned out to be a very good Doctor as well. You know, it's hard enough when your main character changes completely, but to do what they've done now and to change so much so drastically in one season, where they're changing the people running the show, they're changing the Doctor, they're changing the Doctor's gender, and they're doing a lot of stuff, changing a lot of things all at once. And it's like I said, for me, the biggest bone I have to pick is I've seen all the old Who. They can't lie to me. They can't pull that crap on me, because I know it's not there. The closest that anybody ever gets, and this is the closest argument that there is to it, one time when Romana's regenerating, when she's regenerating into the Romana that we all know now with the blonde hair and that sort of stuff, when she was regenerating into that, she actually tried on a few different bodies. She went into a back room and then came out and looked different, like she was trying on regenerations, right? Some people have made the argument that one of those regenerations looked like a man. I disagree. It looked like a very large Amazonian woman to me, personally. That's my opinion. But that's about the only time that you can possibly kind of construe that maybe a Time Lord in Old Who actually changed sets. But I like I said, I don't truly believe she did. It looked like a big Amazonian woman to me. So that's where we're at. I mean, but I'll give it a chance. Obviously, I still love Doctor Who, and I'm going to go ahead and watch this new season and everything, but I just got to say, I'm just disappointed in the decision-making going on over at Doctor Who right now. And I think it probably works out well with the younger generation, like you and the younger generation, because they're coming up and they're actually caring about social reform, and these are things that they care about. So this would be something that they could get behind, and I can see that, and I can acknowledge that. I mean, man, Doctor Who's got a lot of history. Just to turn it into some kind of tool for social reform, you know, now at this point in its, you know, illustrious history. But hopefully the new, you know, management there will settle down, and, you know, now we're just going to have a new facet to Doctor Who, where you're going to be referring to doctors and Time Lords as he, she all the time now, because they're going to be changing back and forth. And when you try to explain Doctor Who to somebody else, and you're going to be going, yeah, that's when he, she, this and that, whatever, and people are going to be looking at you like you're crazy because you're trying to explain this to them, and they're not going to be getting it, because the constant switching back and forth and, you know, all that stuff is going to be confusing to them. So it's just the nature of the beast. So that's what they've created with New Who, and I don't know. We'll have to see how well it's going to work out. I mean, I'll give it a chance, of course, but I guess I want David Tennant back.
We all do.
Dude, I love David Tennant. You remember the one when they brought back Sarah Jane, right?
Yeah.
And then with K9. Great. And oh my God, dude, David Tennant has it nailed. All the little mannerisms that he was making with K9, just like Tom Baker. I mean, it was so funny. It was like watching Tom Baker with K9. It was hilarious. You know, you can tell David Tennant, it really is a student of Doctor Who. He's really kind of seen it all. And you can see that in a lot of his mannerisms. I think that's why he did so well as the Doctor, is that people really did see aspects of old doctors in him at times, you know. Right. And but I love that bit when he's like talking to K9. Oh, dude, he's like baby talking to K9 or whatever, like, just like Tom Baker would do. It's so funny. I had one other question. How much of the old Who have you actually seen?
I haven't seen a whole lot. A while back, I was watching old Who episodes on.
Netflix?
I think it was I was watching it on like a Discord server, I think it was, and it was playing them constantly.
Uh-huh.
But I couldn't always be there to watch.
Right.
I saw like the beginning to Trial of a Time Lord.
Oh, that's a good one,
I liked
dude.
it. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. Except, you know what the problem with that one is? Is that they didn't get to finish it properly. The guy that that started out writing it, he died. He died before they finished writing it, and then they had to bring in 2 other writers, Pip and Jan Baker, to just kind of cobble together a Band-Aid kind of ending for it. But oh my God, that story was headed in such a great direction. Trial of a Time Lord. Oh my God, that's a good one. Yeah, that's Colin Baker too. I like Colin Baker because he's like, of all the Doctors, he's like he's the arrogant prick.
Oh yeah,
you know, he's like he's so funny. I dig that about him.
Yeah.
But no, but that one's good, man. That one's so good. Like, especially when he's interacting with the Valyard, which for those of you who don't know, the Valyard is what is supposed to be a future incarnation of the Doctor that is evil. Yeah, very interesting. So the interactions between the Doctor and the Valyard are very, very interesting, very, very funny. So, I would highly recommend that one. You should check out Netflix. I know a while back they had, what's it called? The Carnival Monsters or something like that. And it's basically where Pertwee, who's the 3rd Doctor, Pertwee, and one of his companions, they materialize in this little machine that is like it's like a miniature zoo, like where it has all these different creatures from all over history or whatever inside of it. And so they're trying to get out of it, and in their process of them trying to get out of it, they end up releasing some of the things. It becomes this big old deal, right? It's a pretty good episode. They had probably about, I think, 6 or 7 different stories, and the stories were like 4 to 8 episodes each. They didn't. They did it a little differently back then. It wasn't like now where we sit down and watch an episode and it's contained in one episode. They used to do it where everything was like 4 to 8, sometimes even 16, 20 parts. It was depending on the story, obviously. Right. So I mean, like Trial of a Time Lord goes, I think there's 4 for the original story. There's like 3 parts of it. I think altogether it's like 16 episodes, you know what I mean? So it's like, and there's a lot of stories like that with Doctor Who, but they had some really good ones, dude. Like if you can find The Green Death, that one's another really, really good one. But they were trying to it's where they were using kind of Doctor Who in a way, but they were using it for social reform because they were trying to talk about how the petroleum companies were creating these, they were doing these things with their chemistry and all that sort of stuff, and people were concerned about pollution and that sort of stuff. And so this episode was meant to like kind of highlight that, and so it was all centered around this petroleum company that was creating petroleum cheaper than anybody else, and nobody knew how they were doing it, and all this whatever, and then they ended up finding out how they were doing it. It's very sinister, and the Doctor has to do something about it, and it's like this whole thing where they're fighting red tape to be able to get into the factory. So they're fighting, like they're talking with the Prime Minister, and they're having all this trouble even being able to get in the door and all this stuff. It's really funny. But so in that sense it was a social commentary, but it was trying to clean up the planet, trying to whatever, but it wasn't all the time. It wasn't like, it was like certain episodes did that, not like the main character is like in a full-on assault, kind of the way it is right now. But that's a good episode though. I love that episode. And it's got Joe Grant, who's probably one of my favorite companions of Doctor Who. She was just kind of the happy-go-lucky, but tough, and I like Sarah Jane too for the same reasons.
Yeah, Sarah Jane's one of my favorites.
Sarah Jane's awesome. So, but Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, I love Doctor Who. It's just, I just find, well, you know what? I look at it this way. I wonder how well this new decision of theirs is going to pan out. It may, I guess, be okay because, like I said, a lot of their new audience. They have a pretty large new audience of young people that have come on board in the last 5 to 10 years. So, and they may not see what I'm talking about. But I seriously do hope they will consider bringing back some of the great, female time ladies of the past. I mean, I'd love to see a female Time Lord, a villain like the Ronnie. Yeah, it would be awesome, and not the Master being turned into a female. I want the Master to be the Master, and I want the Ronnie to be the Ronnie. I just personally think that it just makes things a little more confusing and kind of just I don't know. It just seems gimmicky. When it comes down to it, it just seems just gimmicky. Like it's just doing this for a kick, or which I have no issue with gender switching or gender swapping or anything like that, but I just remember what it was like to try to explain Doctor Who to people 15 years ago, before the new Who came out, and trying to explain to people how the Doctor regenerates and how there's multiple regenerations and all that sort of stuff. That was hard enough, right? Just to explain it like that, without the Time Lords swapping gender or changing gender. It was hard enough to try to explain Doctor Who to somebody then. Would be even more difficult now, where you're going, yeah, that's when she did this and stepped into the TARDIS and went over to this other planet, and then she whatever. And it's like you're constantly going to be almost losing people when you go from regeneration to regeneration, because they're like, wait, I thought you were just saying she. No, it's a he now. Oh, okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. That could be confusing, and so I look at it from that aspect as I'm an old Who fan who was in that period of time when there was no Doctor Who. And all I had were DVDs and stuff to watch, like my friend had the entire library. So all I had was the old Who to watch. And in that period, I would talk to my brother and people that were into science fiction who didn't know about Doctor Who. And it was just difficult to explain in that way. It's hard for people to think about the main character continually changing and just changing like their face or their whatever. And then, that was hard enough, and then, like I said, this new wrinkle, I think, makes it even tougher. So that's my main point. But like I said, I'll be watching the new season. Perhaps him and I will just coordinate. We'll watch the episode 1 roughly around the same time, within the same couple-day period, and then we'll get together and we'll have a little chat about it, and then we'll do the same thing with episode 2 or 3, and we'll maybe make this go out over maybe the next couple weeks or something like that. Yeah, we'll try to squeeze it in before they get rid of Hangouts on August 1st. So, but yeah, so that's basically what we wanted to talk about today. Is there anything else about the new season of Doctor Who that you thought was really cool, or anything?
I don't think so. Yeah, we have a little bit of time till the next season, because it's not coming out till 2020.
Right.
I don't know why.
Well, they did that with Tenet too. There was a point with Tenet where the season ended, and then they didn't have a contract with him, and then they got a contract with him where they did these 4 special episodes that were longer than normal Doctor Who episodes, and then whatever, and then they came back, and then they started a regular season again after that. But there was a huge gap in between the 4 episode thing and whatever. So that's kind of happened before. So hopefully they're getting their ducks in a row and getting their shit together, because I would seriously, I would so much have rather have seen them bring back Romana or the Ronnie than I would have liked to have seen them change both the Master and the Doctor into female Time Lords, which is fine, I guess. But like I said, for a lot of reasons that I've cited here today, which I won't care to repeat myself here, but there's just a lot of confusing issues that can go along with it, in my opinion. So, you guys can look forward. Oh, hold on. No worries, I can edit.
Who's your favorite villain? Doctor Who villain?
Oh, that's a good question.
was trying to type it so you wouldn't have to edit it out.
Okay.
Questions from the audience.
All right. My favorite Doctor Who villain is from Old Who. It's from an episode called, I think it's called City of Death. City of Death. And it's a very interesting one because there's a character in it, Count Scallione, who is actually an alien who was on a ship when the primordial ooze here on our planet was just, forming or whatever, and his spaceship blew up. And that is basically what sparked the primordial ooze to start creating life and started life on planet Earth kind of thing. And when that happened, he was splintered throughout time in human history. Okay? So it was really interesting because he was able to have Leonardo da Vinci paint 8 Mona Lisas back in the 1400s so that he could then unbox them in the 20th century and sell them because he was trying to build this time machine so he could get back to his spaceship and tell his original self not to try to blast off, which would have caused, which is what caused life to come forth on this planet. So he was essentially trying to prevent creation by going back to save his own butt, right, in his ship. That was a really good one, and that's probably one of my favorite villains in Doctor Who, just because, for those of you who don't know, he's played by the guy in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. The one guy, the guy that drinks from the cup and gets all old?
Yeah.
That guy.
Okay.
He's played by that guy. And he really does a really great job of being that condescending jerk. And, he's perfect. It's a really great villain. So I'm thinking probably him would be my favorite. Obviously the Master. Obviously the Master's a shoo-in. He's just always a good villain. Let's see, is there any other interesting villains? Not that I can think of off my head, but we might revisit that question later.
Here's mine.
Oh, Weeping Angels.
Well, Weeping Angels are great. They scare me more than any other. They seriously scare me.
Those are awesome. Those were a great idea. The Weeping Angels were a good idea.
They were. I still love them. Like every episode that comes up with them, I'm like getting ready to get scared, but I love it. I do think that John Sims' Master was another one of my favorites, though. Just like how psychotic he was, and how John Sim took on the role. He acted sort of erratic, I guess is the right word.
Yeah.
Super energetic and not caring.
Yeah.
And at the same time, sort of insanity through comedy. At times there shouldn't be comedy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of if you think about the Joker and DC stuff, he's crazy, but he adds funny stuff to it and finds stuff funny that other people don't normally find.
Right. Inappropriately, right?
Yeah.
The Weeping Angels. Obviously, John Sims is a master. I actually liked when Tennant was still the Doctor. In the final episode of that season or whatever, when the Master brings the Toclafane and all that back in.
Oh yeah.
That was a really, really good one. Because the Master was actually kind of going back to the Master of old. For those of you who don't know, in Old Who, the Master was always a character that was he was evil. Yeah, he was unscrupulously evil, but he had impeccable manners. Always said please, thank you, all those. Creepily, polite. Yeah. Exactly. Even though he was a really, really evil dude. So that was always something that was interesting. Very refined, very sophisticated. That was always the Master, but he was always unscrupulously evil, right? So that was one of the things, and that's what they kind of nailed with John Sims in that one with David Tennant, where he takes over the world and stuff, because he was acting more presidential, more. He was having a little bit more prestige about the way that he carried himself, and it actually was a little bit more like the Master of old. So I did dig that about John Sims. But there's been some good villains recently. Oh, the Vashta Narada.
Oh my God.
Oh, that was a good one. The library.
Oh, those also terrified me. Oh, but that one was great though.
Yeah.
That
That was such a good episode. The library. Oh my god. And that
kind
little
of-
girl in the computer and figuring that
so
all
good.
out.
It was so good. Sometimes I wish they would bring it back, but I feel like if they did, they might ruin it.
Yeah, right.
Because it was such a good, just one-time thing, you know.
Yeah. So that was, but they reused that set a lot. It's so funny.
Yeah.
You'll see that little whatever it is, compass or whatever that's
Yeah.
in the middle of the library. You'll see that in other episodes here and there. They just redress everything around it a bit. It's so funny. It's like a common building they used to film in, I think, or something. So, well, is there any other questions?
Who's your favorite companion?
What?
Who's your favorite companion?
My favorite who?
Companion.
Well, like I said, Joe Grant is a big favorite of mine. Jamie McCrimmon from the Patrick Troughton era, he was the Scotch. He's always wearing the kilt and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Jamie McCrimmon was so funny. What I loved about Jamie is that he was always, even though he wasn't like as smart as the doctor or whatever, he just had common sense, and he always knew when the doctor like airballed, and he would be quick to frickin' call him on it. It was so funny. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, because you didn't expect that woman back there to do this or whatever." Like he was always quick in the pickup, even though he didn't understand the technical stuff. He understood the interpersonal stuff really well, so he was always calling Patrick Troughton on his stuff, and it was really really funny. So that was good about him. I loved him. Obviously Jamie Grant. Obviously Sarah Jane Smith. And then if I have to choose from like newer, who? I gotta say, I really liked Martha Jones. I didn't care as much for Rose. I know a lot of people do. I liked Rose. But really, I really liked Martha Jones. I thought Martha Jones was she just had the right, she was tough. She was, ready for whatever, and she just seemed more, I don't know, I just liked her attitude a little bit better. Rose was just a little more, I don't know, she seemed, I just didn't, I liked Rose, but I didn't like her as much as Martha. That's all I can say. And then, let me see, who else did we have? Obviously, and Amy Pond, for the same reasons. Tough as nails, just, really, really funny. So, let me just kind of look back here. Oh, yes. How can I forget? Tegan from the Peter Davidson, and actually from the Tom Baker, Peter Davidson. And did she go into the Colin Baker era? I don't think she did, but Tegan was awesome. Very popular line from Doctor Who. Comes from the companion Tegan, where the Doctor would say Braveheart, and he would always say Braveheart Tegan, because when he first met Tegan was very off-put by what happened with the TARDIS. She was just trying to get on it. She was a flight attendant. She was going to Heathrow to, do her job as a flight attendant or whatever, and she ended up getting caught up in the TARDIS and in this whole other adventure or whatever. And so that whole adventure, she was very needy and everything. And so the Doctor, they coined the phrase Braveheart Tegan, and Tegan ended up becoming one of the strongest companions that the Doctor has ever had. And I always liked Tegan. She was I just dug her. She had a good mentality, good good attitude, and she was pretty.
I haven't seen a lot of old Who. There's not a lot I can go off of.
Yeah.
I really did like Sarah Jane. I
Yeah.
think that's pretty much a given though. And I guess he'd be considered a companion, just the Brigadier.
The Brigadier. How can
And-
I forget the Brigadier?
I mean, he was mentioned a couple times in New Who, but he never really came out.
Right.
But I think each Doctor had a mention of him except for Eccleston.
Yeah.
But I really liked him. And then in New Who, I did like Rose, like just the way she kind of took the Doctor after, the last Great Time War, and kind
Right.
of eased him back into not going insane.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I really, really liked Donna, mainly
Yeah,
because
Donna.
of all of the sass. I thought that was great.
Yeah. Donna, I like Donna too. I think Donna was great. Well, and I actually like it now when they go back and revisit Donna now that she can't talk to the doctor, and it's like you see her like yelling and bossing her, new boyfriend around and things like that.
It's hilarious.
So, but yeah, there's some great companions in Doctor Who, man. I'm probably missing some. There's, there's the chameleon from the past. I'm wondering if we're ever gonna see in New Who. Chameleon was a robot that could actually make itself look like just about anybody. And then it always would end up getting found by the master, and the master would end up reprogramming him and making him have some kind of evil thing, and so the doctor would always end up having to find it, and he'd have to discover it was Chameleon, and then the doctor would then have to work on repairing Chameleon. It was so funny. It was like this thing where the master would find him and fuck him up, and the doctor would find him and fix him, and it was like so it was really funny with the Chameleon. So I've been wondering if they're ever going to get back to that one, but we'll have to see. So, but all right, well, it's been fun. Any other questions? It's been fun talking with you about this, and obviously we'll move forward watching some of the new episodes of Doctor Who, and we'll comment on them as we go, I guess. So, all right, buddy.
All right, so that's my little sit-down chat with Cody. I love Doctor Who. I don't necessarily agree with the current direction of the show. I think it may be folly, personally. We'll have to see how it all pans out, but in essence, the show is still there. Its major components are still there. The TARDIS is still the TARDIS. I just question this particular direction. I don't, in a respectful way, I question the direction. So, hope that's not too offensive to some people, but I seriously do. It feels like a gimmick. It feels like I don't know. It makes me wonder if somehow Doctor Who is weak and this gimmick was needed, or what prompted this kind of thing. There really is nothing in Doctor Who history where Time Lords change gender during regenerations. Every Time Lord, if they were a man Time Lord, they continued to be a male Time Lord, and if they were a female Time Lord, they continued to be a female Time Lord. So this stuff they're saying now that it's established in Doctor Who, or that it's happened before, is completely false. And so it's always an indicator of a problem when a lie has to be told in order to do something, right? So that's just some of my feelings about it. But like I said, we're going to give the new season a look. Cody and I are going to go through it and comment about it and that sort of stuff, and together live on some YouTube lives. So you guys can look forward to that if you're interested. Hope some of you Doctor Who fans are out there are interested. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe, and we'll see you.